Ah, Whiterun, a city nestled in the heart of Skyrim, serving as the crossroads of the province. Adventurers, traders, and the occasional wandering bard all pass through here, giving it a lively, bustling atmosphere. The city itself is divided into 3 districts. The Plains District, where the hustle and the bustle of everyday life happens. Up the stairs lies the next tier above the Commonwealth, where the high society mingle. A place imbued with a quieter, more reverent air. And towering above them all is the palace atop the hill, the Dragon's Reach, amidst the Cloud District, a symbol of power and tradition. Whiterun is the perfect blend of Nordic pride and culture, with a few preachers and zealots adding to its character. If you've spent any time here, you have likely had a few misadventures yourselves, such as dodging the guards after pocketing a cheese wheel, or perhaps inadvertently angering the entire hold by kicking the local favorite chicken while trying to save yourself from a bunch of thugs. Don't worry, we have all been there. But Whiterun isn't just about trade or the mead halls and their loud boasts of Nordic ancestry. You see, beneath its stony streets and wooden rooftops lies a soul and spirit deeply tied to traditions and faith. In one part of the city lies a small but significant structure. For many, it represents the spiritual heart of Whiterun, drawing pilgrims from every corner of the land. It houses something extraordinary, a symbol of faith, of life, and of divine blessing. The Gildergleam. Or at least it used to be green. Now, the once sacred tree is little more than a withered husk, a shadow of its former self. What happened to this revered tree? And why does it matter so much to the people of Whiterun? To understand its story, we must first look back at its origins, its roots, so to speak, both figuratively and literally go very deep. The Gildergleam's founding dates back to the Merethic era, the era of elves in Nordic tradition, during the years of 𝕱𝖑𝖈 and his 500 companions. The tree itself was grown from a sapling taken from one of the oldest living things in all of Tamriel, the Eldergleam. It was in turn blessed by the goddess Kynareth, a divine 𝕱𝖈 of immense power. She is the goddess of the heavens, the winds, the sea, the elements, and the unseen spirits of the air. Revered as a member of the 9 divines, Kynareth, known to the Nords as Kine, is a patron of sailors, travelers, and those who honor the natural world. Kynareth's blessing on the Eldergleam imbued it with an otherworldly vitality, and it was this sacred connection to its mother tree that gave the Gildergleam its spiritual significance in Whiterun. But the tree's current state tells another tale altogether. We are told by 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖈, the current priestess at the temple of Kynareth, that a lightning strike was the cause of his withering state, a natural disaster to some and a bad omen to others. But was it truly by random? Could it have been a pure coincidence that a lightning strike would hit such an important religious life form? Or perhaps there might be more to this tale than what meets the eye. One could speculate and imagine that Kynareth, the goddess of the elements herself, would be the one to choose where storms and lightning strikes are flung. Could it be that she struck her own sacred tree not out of malice or spite, but by the fact that the goddess got displeased that her followers come only to visit the temple for the tree, not to partake in her teachings, but rather see the entire ordeal as a tourist attraction? Another theory could be that Kyn destroyed the Gildergleam because she is warning the Nords that she will withdraw her blessing unless they shape up. In the old Nordic religion, Kyn is the chief deity as the widow of Shore. But the 4th era Nords have started to assimilate into the imperial quote-unquote cult, where Kynareth is the subservient housewife of Akatosh, a patchwork god consisting of Shore, Ariel, and Alduin. Kyn could be trying to send a message that the Nords need to abandon the sovereign heresy and return to the old ways where she is in charge. In the end, Danica, the priestess in Whiterun, decided to hire the legendary Dragonborn instead of answering the speculated challenge of her Lady Kynareth directly. She asks us to fetch her the sap of the Gildergleam at Kyn's holy sanctuary to restore the Gildergleam of Whiterun to its former glory. But the mother tree is older than the existence of metal itself, and thus its roots are unharmed by any weapon that ourselves or Whiterun has in its possession. Danica then tells us of a weapon so vile and unnatural that even the mighty Gildergleam, blessed by divine forces, would recoil at its touch. This blade, known as Nettlebane. It possesses the dark power to force the Gildergleam's roots to retreat, allowing a path to be cut through its sacred sanctuary. Nettlebane is, however, not an ordinary weapon. We learn that it is a sacrificial blade, forged in malice by the Hag-Ravens, female practitioners of foul magic. It was said to be created specifically for the ritualistic slaughter of Spriggans, the sacred guardians of nature, as offerings to their deities. While the exact patron of these offerings isn't confirmed, the most plausible theory ties Nettlebane to her sign, the Daedric Prince of the Hunt. This connection arises from the shared themes of nature, primal rituals, and the Hag-Raven's feral association with the hunt. The link becomes even clearer when considering the Witches of Glenmoril, a sect infamous for their ties to Hagraven magic, as well as Daedric worship. We first hear of the Glenmoril witches in the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, through the character of Janus Hasildor, the Count of Skingrad. He tells us that there is an older woman living down by the Corbollo River that, through his unconfirmed reports, states that she could be one of the last witches of its coven that knows how to cure vampirism. When we go to see the woman known as Melisande, we can boldly ask her if she is a witch, to which she admits to have given up witchcraft a long time ago. The Glenmoril witches reappear in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, directly connected to the story of 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖜, the ill-fated harbinger of the companions. According to the lore, 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔 was a brave and noble leader of the companion who sought out the Glenmoril witches in his time. However, rather than finding salvation or wisdom, he was lured into the dark bargains. It was through these witches that 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔 and his shield brothers were cursed with lycanthropy, forever tying the companions to the Daedric prince 𝕱𝖕n. This connection is critical because it reveals that their involvement in 𝕱𝖕n's domain supports the theory that Nettlebane's creation was meant to serve his twisted purposes, likely as part of the sacrificial rituals that form the cornerstone of his worship. Through this revelation, Nettlebane becomes more than just a tool. It is a symbol of defiance against the natural order, a weapon imbued with corruption that perverts the sanctity of nature and its divine guardians. When wielded by the legendary Dragonborn, it presents a paradox: an unholy blade used in service of restoring the sacred Gildergleam by inadvertently striking at the goddess Kynareth herself. When we retrieve the blade itself from an Hagraven at a location known as Orphan Rock, we notice that the Nettlebane resembles a jagged vine or twisted root. Its irregular edges curl and gnarl, as if it grew from the darkened earth itself, rather than being forged in fire. In contrast to the normal ebony dagger that has a smooth, symmetrical blade shaped with deliberate precision and polished to perfection. It also weighs twice as much as a normal ebony dagger, almost giving it the same weight as a short sword would, likely to allow for more pressure onto the fact that it needs to efficiently cut and tear through the hardened roots of Spriggans. Once we return to Danica with the news of our weapon acquisition, we can now finally head towards the Gildergleam sanctuary. But first we are bothered by a pilgrim who wished to also gawk at the tree. If he's lucky, and if he doesn't bother us too much, he could survive through the journey of accompanying us to the sanctuary, where we meet two other pilgrims who is either praying to Kynareth or taking in the beautiful view of the sanctuary itself. As soon as we pull out the Nettlebane from its sheath and show it to the pilgrims, They all react in horror at its appearance and beg us not to harm the mother tree, for nothing good could ever come out of it. We of course have the options of ignoring their pleas and instead chopping at the roots of the 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖈, tearing a path to its center to retrieve its holy sap. This is around the same time where Maurice tells us that he has an additional option for us. He can pray at the tree for guidance. If we choose to follow the path of Danica, the well-meaning but oh so misguided priestess of Kynareth, we must take the sacrilegious step of plunging Nettlebane into the mother tree itself. By doing so, we drain its sacred sap into a vial, an act that defiles one of the oldest living beings in Tamriel. This action does not go unpunished, since Maurice, the devout pilgrim accompanying us, turns hostile. Unable to bear witness to such an offense. Moreover, the Spriggans, the guardians of the natural world and nature's fierce protectors, rise from the earth, determined to halt this transgression, even against the might of the legendary Dragonborn. However, there is another path, one that aligns with the grace of Kyne herself. By placing our trust in Maurice and allowing him to lead the way, he offers a prayer to the mother tree, seeking its divine blessing. In response, the 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖈 grants a sapling freely, a gesture reminiscent of the ancient Nords who once prayed to Kynareth and received her favor during the founding days of Whiterun. This act requires no harm, no desecration, only faith. By taking this path, we honor the sanctity of one of nature's oldest life forms and reaffirm Kynareth's favor, preserving the bond between mortals and the divine. When we return to Danica with the sapling, it is replanted with care, offering hope that the Gildergleam will one day flourish once more and be restored to its former glory. This choice serves as a reassurance to Kynareth that despite the Nords' recent moral shortcomings and their gradual drift from her teachings, that there are still those who remain faithful and seek to avoid further displeasure on her account. It becomes a profound gesture of faith and a reminder to both mortals and gods that redemption is always possible through reverence, humility, and care for the natural world.